Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kristen Hoffman and Premik Russell Tubbs for a musical performance. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Reverend Sylvia Sumter, the Senior Minister of Unity of Washington, D.C., and author of Sacred America, Sacred World, CEO and founder of the Shift Network, Stephen Dinan, the founder of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museums in Washington, D.C., and host of the Popular America Meditating Radio, and a decoder of current issues, Sister Jenna, and Minister, Church of the Holy City, Reverend Rich Toffel.
Thank you, and blessings to everyone. Such a wonderful day. I want to welcome you all to this day of healing and reconciliation. And I want to set the tone for our time together and to invite each of you to enter into your heart space, into that place where you can find a measure of peace, a sense of wholeness, and connectedness. Because real change, real healing comes when we can touch that deeper place within us that allows us to transcend all differences. So I invite you to enter into this experience with an open heart and an open mind and an open spirit. For this is truly a safe place where you can experience and undergo your process of healing, because healing is a process. And I want you to all honor where you are in that process. And as we do that for each other, giving each other the space to simply be, we truly will allow ourselves to come together as a spiritual community, as a people, under God, one nation. So I thank you for being here, and I want to acknowledge and thank all those who are viewing this event around the country. We welcome you as well, and we thank you for taking the time to be on point, on purpose, creating a world that will work for everyone. So I thank you, and I'm honored that you're in this space. I want to take this time now to introduce Mr. Stephen Dinan, who is the founder of the Shift Network. Let's welcome Stephen.
Well, I want to welcome all of you to the Day of Healing and Reconciliation. Thank you for taking this time with us in such a critical moment for our country. The idea for today was born this summer when I was traveling on a book tour, and it really came as a vision of a day that would bridge left and right and reconnect us with the higher ideals of our country after a very intense and bitter campaign. Now, we had this vision, and I brought it here, and this group of allies rallied to say, yes, let's make it happen at Unity. And we did this before we knew the results of the election. So in some ways, it makes today a bit tougher for a lot of us, because there's a bigger shock from a surprise that has left a good percentage of our nation reeling with anger and fear, and while there's many other people who are celebrating. So our streets are roiled with protests. Our Facebook feeds, even for the video for this event, are filled with animosity and anger and fear. You know, and I say, as a progressive Democrat, I have felt heartbroken in the last days. But in many ways, it makes it more important for us to gather, because this entire election season has really been bitterly polarizing and divided us against each other. Families and friends, co-workers, colleagues, the political parties and media have fanned these flames. Many people have felt abandoned or threatened now and haven't really felt ready to bridge differences. And we honor that everybody has their own process, and it may take more time for people to even contemplate healing or reconciliation with citizens from the other side. But nonetheless, we can begin. We can begin the journey and declare a ceasefire today, a ceasefire in our own hearts. And we are not here to gloss over our differences as citizens or to deny the natural course of our emotions, but instead to create a safe space to remember who we truly are as fellow citizens of this country, striving to make it a place of liberty and justice for all. We are here to connect with an open mind and humanize those with whom we have struggled. We're here to begin to open our hearts again to people who we have been challenged by, and to remember that those that we have forgotten to care about. We can care for others without compromising our core principles. Ultimately, this is not about our political leaders or policies, but about us as Americans, neighbors, and friends who have been torn apart over politics and now need to heal. We have always been a nation of strong and sometimes even sharp contrasts. But what makes America great is that we have woven these differences into a tapestry of tolerance and respect for the idea that our diversity makes our country stronger. You all know that we are better than the rhetoric we have seen this election cycle. You know that our nation has a higher calling to live up to our motto, E pluribus unum, out of many we are one. And so today, in that spirit, we focus on the things that connect us: spirituality, family, children, education, desire for a better future, equality, opportunity. And we're going to open through song and prayer. We're going to do it slowly and respectfully. We have hundreds of people in this beautiful church and more than 11,000 people who registered online to participate in 35 sister events or online, and we expect there will be hundreds of thousands who watch the video from today. And our video about this has been seen by 1.4 million people. So that's a lot of power to begin to shift things if each of us takes a stand for these higher principles. So in doing this, we also want to honor the importance of taking a passionate stand for what we care about and non-violently resisting that which does not serve. It's part of creating a healthy democracy, and anger can be positive fuel. But for today, let's focus more on our hearts, the love that is in our hearts for our fellow citizens and for our country. Let's soften as much as we can so we can release some of the trauma of this year and also honor that we need each other in the times ahead. Everyone here has a purple safety pin on to symbolize that we are a safe space. This is a growing movement. I encourage you to continue this, that we are safe for all people to talk to. We're creating a safe harbor. So throughout the day, I encourage all of you who are watching to also do acts of healing and reconciliation with those who might have voted differently than you, or simply to reach out with kindness and to share what you do with the hashtag Day of Healing. And as we do, I think we can begin to plant these seeds where we dissolve some of the trauma and come back together. So we're going to have a beautiful program, and I hope it's helpful and healing for you. And we begin this journey with prayers for our country from multiple faith traditions, which is honoring the religious diversity that is the heart and soul of our country. We start with prayers for our nation, the first two on video, then two here at Unity of Washington, D.C. We're going to hear from Rabbi David Ingber of Romamu, Pastor Jose Rojas from Seventh-day Adventists, Reverend Alice Tiwell from New York Avenue Presbyterian Church, and Damanjit Sedev from Guru Gobind Singh Foundation. So may our faiths help us reconnect at a heart level again.
May the one who bless our ancestors bless and heal this country, the United States of America, and bring it to its fullest expression and fullest healing and reconciliation. May the coming days, weeks, and months have us find bridges of beneficence, have us create connections that are compassionate, and may we learn to love one another with strong bonds of love as the winds of change blow. Oseh shalom b'marmav, v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel.
Lord, we pray for our nation in a special way today. There are millions of Americans who rejoice at the victory of their candidate. And indeed, we ask you to bless President Trump as he assumes his new role on January the 20th. There are also millions and millions of Americans more who are not simply upset that their candidate lost, but are actually measurably frightened, terrified of the future. Promises were made, Lord, during this election season of 2016 that promise to destroy many families due to deportation. Millions of Americans have had their religion singled out, and they face an uncertain future. Marriages could be confronted and damaged by these realities. There is so much in so many parts of Americana that people are legitimately afraid of. Lord, bless those who rejoice today so much that you can awaken within each one a compassion to those who are fearful today. Take these divided states of America. May we look upon the huddled masses yearning to be free and unite us once again. Amen.
Friends in our communities, and those who we might see as enemies. God, we pray to you in this politicized, political climate that you would break down the barriers between us and the polarizations, and that in you we would be unified in a common strength, in a common spirit, and in a common love. Amen.
I'll start with the Sikh prayer. Is Ekum Kar Satnam Karta Purakh Nirpo Nirvair Akal Murad Ajuni Saibang Gur Prasad. It means there is only one God. His name is truth. He is the creator. He is without fear. He is without hate. He is beyond time. He is beyond birth and death. He is self-existent, and he is realized by the Guru's grace. Thank you.
Now I want to formally introduce somebody you've already seen, singer-songwriter Kristen Hoffman. She's an amazing award-winning musician and the visionary musical director for today's program. And she will be singing a piece for us now called Begin Again. So let's give her a warm hand.
It's such an honor to be here and sending you all love through the vehicle of music, which is the one language that we all truly speak. The song is called Begin Again. It's time to move on. It's time to let go. Be the one who always knows. Just follow the hum, the beating heart. Be the seed of all you are. Take this life like an open ocean in your hands. Let it all begin again. Feel is the breath. It rattles your lungs, singing out the only song, the one that you know, that brought you here through the dream. It all comes clear. Take this life like an open ocean in your hands. Let it all begin again. And when the darkness tries to hold you near, and shadows knocking at your door, the winded sorrow's distant memory, oh, I will bathe in the silence of your soul. Take this life in your hands. All the voices are calling like an open ocean. Begin again. time I was searching for something to believe in. Well, I can see now, I can believe that I am the song playing out. And when the needle starts falling, dance out loud, just sing it out. Be the living and take this life in your hands, like an open ocean. Begin again.
Well, on Friday, the four of us gathered together and we thought, how can we best serve this moment after especially the changes that were unexpected for many of us? And so we realized that we needed to have some time up front to actually help metabolize a lot of what has happened out there right now, and to really address the real concerns and emotions. So we opened up to questions from people who had registered from outside, and we're going to have a panel with the four of us first to address these questions. Laura Madden from Washington said, "There's a great need to integrate compassion and spiritual awareness with the expanding political and conscious movement for environmental sustainability and social justice. The divide has only been amplified in this campaign. In the face of this crisis, we have, I think, a beautiful opportunity to look within ourselves and our community to nourish connection through positive impact. How can spiritual leaders embolden this message in the hearts of their communities so that we can find the pathways to common purpose and rise together in an interdependent coexistence?"
That's such a great question. Sylvia and I have not stopped talking about that, how we are all, and I haven't mentioned it to Rich, but how we're all being called to amplify our roles as spiritual representatives for wherever we are in service to. And so where we have been comfortable doing what we are doing, this is a situation or an opportunity now to ask us, to test us. Have you upped your game? Are you really here to be in full-time service to mankind? And so I respond to that on a very, very personal level, where I really feel that it's important for the soul of Jenna to keep accumulating so much virtues and qualities and love from God that I can hold everyone in that space without feeling that I am getting drained or I am feeling that I can't do it. And so that's where I have looked on in terms of my spiritual role. We know the systems, the techniques, what to do, what to say, but to be extremely genuine and authentic as a spiritual person, I feel I have to be in that space fully. So I feel like this time is also calling us to really, really deepen our disciplines and our practices and our principles and know that this is why we were called.
As I said this morning in my service, I think we have to stop separating out our spirituality from the rest of our lives. That this is not necessarily even a political revolution. This is a spiritual revolution, and spirituality should filter into every aspect of our lives. Whether you're working, whether you're sleeping, teaching, eating, at home with family, with friends, out partying, your spirit needs to be present in all of it. And so the moment we start recognizing that and placing that first, I think then the rest becomes easier for us, and it'll unfold in a natural way. Yeah, we're saying that we're spiritual leaders, but everybody here is a spiritual leader because you're having a human experience. But when you bring that into your life and unfold that, then I think it makes it better for everyone. So we're in a spiritual revolution. This is a paradigm shift, and it's time to wake up.
In the question of spiritual leadership along those lines, in my tradition, we have something called providence, the idea that God is working in your life in ways that you don't know, and if you're open to it, look out. It will take you the places you need to be. And when this whole idea, we met here a little over a month ago, and when the idea of doing something after the election, I wasn't sure what the point of it really was so much, and I didn't think we had enough time to organize it, but my goodness, Providence had a call for us to be here today, and for all of you, and thank you all for coming here, and for those who are watching, because you're lifting, so I really appreciate that. My week, interestingly enough, is tomorrow I'll be with the National Council of Churches, which in Protestant, mainline Protestant is the organization of churches. We'll be meeting at Mother Emanuel Church and praying, and then we'll be, I'm sure, especially praying for the African American community. As part of that work, I'm part of something called Christian-Muslim Dialogue, where leaders of both faiths have been meeting. We've been doing it for years, but I can tell you that all of us are now redoubling our effort to stand with our Muslim friends right now. And it just so happens that this week, long planned, I'm traveling to what country? Yes, Mexico. I've been working there for 10 years. And they want to do a meeting there, and they have a lot of questions. And so we'll be doing a question there, maybe something a little bit like this, but more in the business world, but they just have a lot of questions. So I think Providence, if you're open to it, can call you to be a bridge builder, to be a peacemaker, and that's what's happening right now. So I think, as Reverend Sylvia said, we're all being called to do that. It's not something that leaders do, it's something we're all being called to do. It's a very important moment.
Well, thank you all. And thank you all who are out there listening and watching as well. I know you have deep questions in your heart, and I encourage you to have deep dialogue today in the events or with each other. We'll have online opportunities as well. So next we're going to roll a video from Jay Ivey. He's an American performance poet, spoken word artist, recording artist, and author. He's a 3-time HBO Deaf Poet winner and has earned a Grammy award for his performance on Kanye West's album. So let's roll this video.
Somewhere along the line, we got conquered by the Great Divide. We hide behind colors, religions, and regions. Seasons change, but we remain the same, concrete, stuck in our ways. The tension is thickened, sickened by our biased views, unbalanced rules that tip the scale. We're tiptoeing on hell, hypnotized by its spell. As magic is tragic, how we view the next. We assume the worst before seeing the best. We want more, but we've grown so heartless. Where's the love? When do we put hate above our humanity? The insanity is inhumane. Beneath this flesh, we're all the same. Heart and soul impart our role is to connect, reflect our light, deflect our pain and our fears, steer clear of the pain that got us here, steer clear of the ideologies that got us here in this endless forever. Instead of seeing strangers, let's see that we're sisters and brothers because we're more powerful together. Let's create bonds that can't be severed. Realize that we're all family. We're all precious jewels of this amazing treasure, which can be seen in our conversations, our stories, the words that we say, which simply starts with a hello or what's up. Man, how was your day?
So it's worth watching again. Next, we wanted to invite Rich back up with actually his godson, Chip Tolson, and he's going to speak about really how do we turn this into a transformational moment, and to also include some thoughts from his godson, Chip Tolson. So give Chip a warm welcome as well.
Chip, you look surprised. Are you surprised? Come on up. Good to see you, man. So, say hi, everybody.
Hi.
So, this little guy comes from a really, really powerful Washington family. Do you know the great debater, Tolson? That's his family, right? one of our great poets. And also, Industrial Bank, the first African-American bank in the United States, is also his family. So you come from very powerful leaders in Washington, and we're going to need leaders like you in the world. I want to talk to you. We have not talked since the election. I got a text from your mom, though, saying that you were a little upset. With the election, and I got a lot of texts from a lot of moms, and I got a lot of videos from a lot of moms, and I thought it was important for us today to hear from kids and hear how you're doing with all this. So I just wanted to, so what are you comfortable talking to me about it? A little bit? A little nervous? Getting a little nervous up here? What was your reaction? What were your reaction to the election? What are you upset about?
Donald Trump being president.
Yeah. And what made you so upset about it?
He's mean.
Anything else? Yeah. So one thing I wanted to say to you is that you and I play a lot of sports together. What do we do together?
We jog and we have fun together.
Yeah. We've done some bowling. He's a great chess player and he beats me a lot. But and after you lose in sports, sometimes in sports language can get pretty bad, right? And it can get pretty upset. And you can use language that's not appropriate. And when that happens with kids, what do parents say to the kids?
What did you just say?
Yeah, what did you just say? Exactly. Well, I'm going to apologize to you for the parents, because we have created a real scary atmosphere for kids in this country, and we've made you nervous, and we've used bad language as adults. So I want to apologize to you, and I wanted to just tell you and all the kids who are out there watching that you're very loved. You have nothing to worry about. Your parents love you. Godfather loves you. And who else loves you?
God.
Good answer. He knows the right answer, right? Yeah, you're protected. God, you're blessed by God. You're protected by God. So when you hear these things, I remember one time you watched a really scary movie with your friends. Yeah, and what happened after that?
So I was only 4, so I got scared and I screamed.
And we've talked about that a lot over the years, that movie. So sometimes we watch a movie and it gets you really upset, but I just want to say in reality, there's less to be scared about. And so you might be worried and you might be nervous right now, but it's going to be okay. Do you believe me?
Yes.
Okay, good answer. All right, thanks, Chip. One thing I just want to stress for all of us is that we are creating a narrative. We tell stories, and we can tell stories where we're good and they're evil. And it can get quite hysterical on both sides. And kids pick up that energy, and they cannot handle that energy. So we have to be very careful. So I just say we have to love our kids, we have to protect our kids, and make sure that they feel safe and loved, because we can work things out. I just wanted to share one quick story in my experience that might give you a tiny little bit of hope in my life. But when I came to do log cabin in 1993, I arrived in Washington, and Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House. And no one wanted to really work with me because they had everything. And then the Congress flipped, and there was really nobody to lobby on AIDS issues to the Congress. And I didn't know what to do, and I went to one of the most conservative members of the Congress, a man from Oklahoma, Tom Coburn. And we didn't agree on very much at all, but I appealed to him as a Christian, and I appealed to him as a doctor, and I asked for his help. I can say years later, we built a really strong friendship, and he, believe it or not, actually increased funding for AIDS in the 1990s, higher than even the president requested. It's kind of hard to believe. That story doesn't get told, because the story of good versus evil, my side versus your side, but sometimes we just have to recognize that we have good and evil, that's my language, but we have the shadow within ourselves. We have it on our side, whatever we are politically, and we can always use this opportunity when we're angry at the other side to look within and say, what could I change too? And where can I find the common ground? If I don't believe the negative story about that person, can we work at the level of our better angels. And I think that's what we're being called to do. Let's work at the level of our better angels and not fall prey to the narrative of good versus evil, and we're good and they're evil. Thank you.
Last week, we were called to exercise one of our basic rights as citizens, to vote. Some people made the argument that it's not worth making the effort because they didn't like the candidates or they don't trust government, no matter which party holds the reins. In fact, in our recent report on the state of women's health in America, 67% of women say the presidential election is having the largest impact on your stress. Second only to terror attacks. A more recent study from this week showed that the impact appeared even greater in men, where the election is the #1 cause of stress. The stress that we're causing ourselves is harming our personal and community's health from a biological and psychological perspective. Consider what happens to the human spirit and the health of our nation if you just decide that because your team didn't win, you're dropping out of finding solutions. In my view, that's an unconscious message that you don't matter, and you do. In fact, we need to heal our politics for our personal and for our collective health. We see what happens in countries around the world who become tribal and forget the power of unifying to address the shortcomings of humanity. Like so many, my parents endured hardships to come to this nation and quickly gained respect for the wonders of the United States. For many immigrants like us, America has been the gold standard for allowing opportunity to all. My parents raised me and my sisters with the blissful belief that we were living in the promised land. Sure, our great nation has shortcomings, as all societies do, but we held our powerful Constitution in such high esteem and built a culture of success. Americans value family, faith, fun, and food. Sometimes too much food, as I've periodically had to point out on this stage. We have the raw ingredients to show the rest of the world how people from diverse backgrounds can thrive together. Let's be that role model. We are needed more in this capacity than ever before. Humans have weathered the storms of adversity because we have a remarkable ability to bond together in times of need. Our communities provide a safety net to buffer us from the impact of loneliness. That's the whole purpose for our huge prefrontal cortex. This part of your brain right here, it got to that size so we can look at each other in the eyes and process what we're feeling and seeing. We can mirror each other. To go hunting, you need a brain the size of a walnut. You're given this big brain, so let's use it. And thank you for joining today's effort, and please spread the good word. Remember, happy and healthy starts right where you are.
So next up, we have a song by the Gonda Boys. The Gonda Boys are a UK-based African fusion band. They began the Gonda Foundation, which operates in Uganda as a registered charity that raises money to combat poverty in the third world. And they're going to be performing a song called Forgotten People that's become something of an anthem dedicated to forgotten people around the world and refugees. Part of the reason we wanted to play this song is it's also part of what we need to do now is who have we forgotten in different ways. So after they play this song, we're going to go straight into 3 different videos, each of which is by fantastic documentary filmmakers who are really looking at bringing forth the stories from people that we might have forgotten. The first is from Shannon Kring on the women of Standing Rock. It tells a very powerful tale of Standing Rock. The next is Annabelle Park's documentary, Story of America, that really brings alive rural towns and some of the divide that really lingers from our Civil War. And finally, we'll finish with a more of a personal reflection from one of my favorite people, Shamil Idris, who's a Muslim man who's the president of the Search for Common Ground, a great organization here. So let's give it up for the Gonda Boys, and we'll go straight into these powerful videos.
Forgotten for all the days that are gone. Can feel the longing or pain when your arms cannot carry on. The forgotten people, will we know? The forgotten people that never, never, ever come home. Ooh. dusty roadie with a heavy loadie, counting down the days since the people betrayed. Child, oh child, cries, I wanna go home. No mommy, no daddy, lying still by the side of the road. The forgotten people, where we know. The forgotten people that never, never, ever come home. Ooh, never come home, Story never told, left out in the cold. Pain you can never know, hunting the faces of old. And as of the children, what future do they hold? The forgotten people, well, we know. The forgotten people will never ever come home. Ooh, never come home, The forgotten people. The forgotten people. Ooh, never come home. The forgotten people. We know. The forgotten people that never, never, ever come home. Ooh, never come home.
Don't incarcerate us. Protect us.
We are facing a $1 billion corporation. The world can now see what is really happening here. And I keep on telling people, oh wait, I live in America. The illusion of the land of the free.
What I was most struck by was that the first people to take on the bulldozers, to say, go back, stop desecrating our sacred sites, were women. They were the first ones in the front line. Women are central in this struggle.
As far as I know, which one is the first baby born here? She came about 4:45 in the morning. I wouldn't have been able to be here without the support of the women who came with me and who came and joined me. Because I had some of my own fear around having her here and having her in a place of conflict. They talked about our people saying that, you know, it would be our children that stood up first, and then it would be our women, and then finally our men would stand up. I firmly think that our men need our women to stand up and be strong, and they need to be reminded of the world that we live in now and their responsibility to make it safe for us. They need to make it safe, you know, for our daughters and for their mothers and for their sisters and their aunties, for the women they don't know, you know, the women they've never met. And so that's why I came. That's why I'm here, you know, because there's a need to hold space for women.
A nation isn't defeated until the hearts of the women are on the ground. We have grandmothers and mothers that are prepared to be here on the land for the long run. We're not going away.
We had installed that to the ones that gave their life during the Civil War on the Confederate side. We've also put one in Yancey County the year before and are currently trying to get one together for Avery County. The truth needs to be told on the side of why the war was started.
I believe the government's helping more people out that really don't need it. They're helping out a lot of people that's lazy, that won't work.
I'm especially sensitive to division, in part because I grew up for the first 10 years of my life in South Korea, which went through a civil war 60 years ago. It is a country still divided in half and technically at war. I grew up abhorring war and longing for unity. I brought that part of my soul to America as an immigrant.
We've had all of our textile industries took from us, shipped overseas for cheaper labor. He has struggled, he wants to work, and he's struggled with, well, should I get on disability?
I've always been taught, you know, pray about things and just pray about, you know, should I draw SSI? Should I get help? Do I really need the help? I'm not exactly sure what I want to do.
I mean, if you
It's eating at me.
draw from disability, I mean, are you afraid people are going to judge you?
Yeah. They'll think, you know, look at him, he can work just because he's got one arm, he can work just as good as I can.
Do you think two things that are kind of contradictory? One is that there are people who deserve it more than you.
Yeah.
But in general, you feel like the most people or many of the people on it don't deserve it at all, right?
Well, I'm not saying nobody does. I'm saying there's a few out there that are just, I guess now that I think about it, I'm actually judging people that I don't really know, so I can't really say that now.
So we've been organizing conversations between young Americans and their peers across the Muslim world for many years now. And one of the key things that we've learned is that the big difference maker in helping people to move from a place of fear and insecurity and defensiveness towards a place of being willing to engage openly with other cultures, other points of view, and to let down their guard a little bit, the key thing is not having the experience of being agreed with by someone else. The key thing is simply having the experience of being heard and respected. In fact, when we organize these dialogue groups in online settings between 10 young people, 5 in the US and 5 in Muslim majority countries, and somebody says something like, I think your entire religion of Islam, I think it's violent. I don't think it's a fringe phenomenon. Or somebody else says, you know what, I don't think the 9/11 attacks really happened. Or I think they happened, but I think your government, the US government, planned them. When these things are said, And these are things that are not fringe opinions in some of the societies where we work. They're fairly mainstream opinions. And when those things are said in that setting, what's really critical is that the reaction is not to shut them down. Oftentimes what happens in these groups when they talk is nobody will agree with the person who said this. All 9 other participants will disagree with them. But rather than shout them down, people ask questions, and these conversations are facilitated to open up questions like, I disagree with you completely, but I want to understand where you're coming from. Have you had any personal experiences? What have you been through that makes you feel this way and makes you think about things in this way? And what we found is when people have that experience of expecting to be shut down, but instead being embraced, even if they're still totally disagreed with, they shift to a whole other space of openness and engagement. And one thing that's really freeing about that for us, for any of us who want to reach across these boundaries, is we don't have to give up our principles. We don't even have to change our views initially. They may be changed on their own, but we don't have to change them or compromise. We simply need to be willing to hear the other side, ask genuine questions, hear where people are coming from, and express respect for them as people, even if we disagree with a particular point of view that they have or what they believe. And if you are willing to do that, we can have a really transformative breakthrough in international relations and cross-cultural relations that'll make all of our societies safer and more secure.
Ivy Hilton offering her rendition here. Warm welcome.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. Was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fears relieved. Precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. 'Twas blind, but now I see.
don't know about you, but I'm getting a little weepy here. So thank you. That was amazing. So now we have another video segment. We reached out to a lot of different political leaders, and frankly, with the election results and changing and ups and downs, and there was a lot of chaos. So we had commitments and pullbacks, and what we ended with we ended with 3 African American leaders who represent a broad spectrum of political orientation. And I think it's important for all of us to in a way, give everybody a chance. We had people who were like, I'm not going to watch a program that has Dr. Ben Carson in it, or we had people who say, I'm not going to have anything to do with Reverend Al Sharpton. And that was an example of how this divide is playing out. So what we invited each of them to do is reflect on how to bridge the divide, how to heal things in a deeper way. So we're going to hear from Reverend Al Sharpton, prominent civil rights activist, Dr. Ben Carson, neurosurgeon and former presidential candidate, and R. Donahue Peebles, the chair of the board of the Congressional Black Caucus and one of the really premier entrepreneurs in the African American community in the country. So we're going to hear all from three of them in a row.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton. As we have faced one of the most vitriolic elections, it is time now that we heal and bring together people of different views and of different ways of being an American or even being part of humanity. We must have the left and the right, progressives and conservatives. Take a step back. Think about what's important to you, your family, your loved ones, your children. What do we really want for them? What kind of health care? What kind of education? What kind of economic security? What do we really want? And then how do we feel we can get there? If we live by our goals rather than our tactics, we might find out that we really want the same things and for the same reasons. We just may debate about how to get there. But at least it takes the personal acrimony out. And at least we understand that we have more in common in terms of our dreams, our wishes, but maybe we've all been bruised differently by our pain in trying to get there. So let us be a little bigger with ourselves to be more able to reach out, because we're not as disagreeable as we are disconnected. We really want the same things for the same people in our lives. Let's just figure out how to get there without hurting each other. We may even find out how to help each other.
Now that the election is over, it is extraordinarily important for us as Americans to begin to work together to reverse some of the problems that affect all of us, not just Democrats or Republicans or independents, but every single one of us. We have allowed the purveyors of division and hatred to infiltrate our society and to convince us that we are enemies, that we hate each other, that we should try to destroy each other. That makes absolutely no sense at all for a nation called the United States of America. One of the things that I would suggest very strongly is that we begin to sit down and talk to each other rather than getting in our respective corners and throwing hand grenades and trying to demonize each other. Let's talk about what is behind our philosophy for life. I believe what we will generally find is that we have much more that brings us together than that separates us. And only when we begin to have civil dialogue are we able to come up with solutions that work for everyone. One of the big problems we've had is that, we say, well, this group needs special attention, or this group has been discriminated against, and so let's make this other group suffer a little bit so that this group can now get some justice. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we say liberty and justice for all. That means every single one of us. And when we develop policies, we need to develop policies that work for everyone. And I would just say, give it a try. Try being nice to everyone today. Everyone you meet, just make it your goal to be nice to that person and see how good that feels. It feels much better than being mean to people, believe me. And it's easier on your system. You know, we're talking about our future. We're talking about our children. We're talking about our grandchildren. We're talking about the environment we want them to grow up in. We are the ones who establish that environment. We can make it pleasant or we can make it gross. It's our choice. Please, for their sake, let's make the right choice.
Well, look, first of all, I want to thank the organizers who put together this day of reconciliation. How important that is now that we've had what has been the most divisive presidential election of my generation and recent memory. Now's the time to move our country together, because after all, while we may disagree on fundamental issues, overall the number one issue that we all agree upon is we love our country and we love each other and our citizens. And so now's the time for us to cast aside our differences of political opinion and join hands and work together as Americans. Clearly, all of us as Americans believe that we can do better as a nation, and we are striving to make our nation an even more perfect nation. So as we continue to do that, we need to work together and join hands. And so let's all reach out to one another, especially those who've been on the opposite sides of us politically, and join hands to work together to bring our nation forward. Because after all, we have the great privilege of living in the greatest nation on the planet. And we have the responsibility as Americans to bring our country together and set the example for our children and the next generation. So God bless everyone for participating in this day of reconciliation. I want to thank the organizers again, and let's bring our country together.
So as we transition out of this election season, it serves us to really find the places of common humanity with the people that have been our opponents or been on the other side. And so we're delighted to show the next segment here, to show the first installment of a new video series by market research expert Elizabeth Jarose, who is proving that she can help heal the divide with her new video series. It's called Behind the Glass. It's a social experiment inviting Trump supporters and illegal immigrants together in one room to discuss the important issues that have divided our country over the past year. This video was just released and has gone viral since the election and has reached over 1 million views. So you're about to see how even the most opposite sides can come together through listening and understanding, finding empathy, compassion, and common ground.
I've been watching the media like you all have, and we are at odds. We're at odds in so many issues. So I want to try an experiment. Today we brought together two groups with very different opinions. I'm going to put Trump supporters in the front room of a focus group facility.
Are you guys okay with people coming in illegally?
No.
Absolutely not.
In the back room, behind a one-way mirror, there are going to be recent immigrants watching. Then we're going to flip it.
Do you feel like you've done anything illegal?
Oh, this is going to be good.
You might be surprised to see what happens when we brought them together in the same room.
Are you guys willing to work on this?
That's what America is all about.
I'm Elizabeth Jarose, and this is Behind the Glass. All right.
I got your back.
How does it feel to be in the same room together?
I'm not sure.
What was it like for you guys to listen to each other?
It was interesting.
Interesting how?
Well, I do not surround myself with a lot of people that they have radical, different opinion.
Yeah. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, I think you see a different perspective.
I think the separation helps because it kind of forces you to listen, even if at times it was like, but I think it keeps things civilized in a way, because when you just talk politics or anything or people just tend to just try to outspeak each other.
You're passionate about immigration. Why?
There has to be some sort of contribution.
It's gonna be hard
you just can't come here and just because you're having a rough time somewhere else, and just come over here and think that you're entitled to be able to reap in all of America. Have some way to contribute to to the society that everyone has built here.
Right now, I am undocumented. My whole family has been in an immigration process for 15 years. So 15 years, $30,000 later, we still don't have status. I can't leave the country because if I leave, then I have a lifetime ban.
I'm going to give both of you guys a chance to ask some questions. So this will be one of the first questions.
I'm a former veteran, and say you were granted citizenship, and today we were at war. Would you serve your country and possibly give your life to make sure that the freedoms for everybody else is still around?
Yes, I would be willing to do that. I was here since I was 1, and the minute that I was given the opportunity to join the military, I would.
And your reason for joining it would be?
To protect the country that I was raised in, to protect my family, my friends, the people that are surrounding me. I don't have anything left in the country where I was born, but I have been here for 23 of the 24 years that I've been alive.
If something happened to here, I feel affected. I mean, I love this country, so I have to fight for it.
Would you sacrifice your citizen if you're giving up whatever bright future you have to fight for this country and possibly die? That could apply to everyone instead of just undocumented.
That's right. But as a citizen, we are more than likely going to be the ones that are going to be asked first before they come up to someone that is undocumented.
As of right now, all men, regardless of immigration status, have to register with the draft. And so I think that's the mentality that we came with today too, is to inform y'all of all this stuff.
Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't.
No.
If you're in public school here,
Yes.
If you're in public school,
If
is
you're
that it?
18 years of age, you get the letter in the mail for the selective service registration.
If you don't do it, and they send you like various letters in the mail and you still don't do it, they come and they arrest you and there's a risk for deportation there.
I'm just surprised that we haven't heard that on media.
Right.
It doesn't have controversy. It's not tragedy. The tragedy makes it to the news.
I didn't know about the draft thing, okay? But then it starts to confuse me, because then I'm wondering, okay, well, what is going on? Why is it that you're required to do all these things that we have to do as citizens, yet you're not being granted your opportunity? So that tells me that we're not getting information that's going to help you.
USA's playing Mexico in soccer. Who do you root for?
There you go.
Live a Moment, which is a tech company focused on peace building and bringing our love of technology into balance with our peace of mind. And she spent the last 5 months on the road, traveling our country and documenting a series called Our State of Peace in America. And this is documenting hundreds of voices from all across the United States with emotions complete with fears and desires and innate hope for a joyful, peaceful existence. So this gives us a preview of this work that she's doing and coming out in this film as well. This has not been released anywhere.
Just stop. Sluta.
Terjo.
Pare.
Stop.
Can we just stop for a moment?
Just for a moment. If I can create my peaceful world,
And he can create his peaceful world.
And she can create her peaceful world.
maybe we would be less likely to destroy each other.
In all the small daily ways.
As well as the earth-shaking,
truly soul-shattering,
literal ways.
This summer, we traveled the country, documenting our state of peace. 4 months, 8,500 miles, 40 states. One of the most divisive moments in our history, and this is what we learned.
I ain't no different than you, you ain't no different than me, he ain't no different than she, 'cause we're all
It's just a matter of learning to live together and honoring each other, not just putting up with each other, but honoring each other.
It would have to be tolerance for one another, because that ties in with respect.
Life isn't what you plan it to be. No one's life is perfect, but I don't know. Love is the message. It solves everything. That's how I feel.
Our elders teach us that we're supposed to love one another and be there for each other. So that's what's lacking in the world, you know, that empathy and that unity.
There's no peace in my country. I'm from El Salvador, and it's why I'm here in USA, because I'm looking for the peace.
I think if we can be a good country for ourselves and then also for the rest of the world, I think that would be better than claiming the top spot as the best country.
Now more than ever, we are each the voice of peace. Now more than ever, we may be one voice away from a new beginning. Are you that voice?
I feel it's so important in these moments to touch into these rays of hope and love and healing that are already happening, and that we build from those. So is Stephen Olakara in the house? There he is, yes. We had not checked in. So we wanted to have a few words from a remarkable young change maker here in DC, who is really helping to activate voices of a next generation engaged in bipartisan engagement in politics with young leaders. He's the president of the Millennial Action Project. So let's give a warm welcome to Stephen Olakara.
Good afternoon. Wow, what a moving presentation. Let me first say thank you to Rich and Stephen and the whole team for inviting me to be here today. And I want to also take this moment to thank God for not only bringing me here to join with all of you, but for helping me discover my purpose and my life mission. I actually discovered my purpose here in the church, where I grew up in Wisconsin. But it wasn't sitting in the pews, nor was it standing up here. It was actually sitting over there behind the drums. I was sitting behind the drums, playing jazz and gospel and other styles of music. And before I got into politics, that was my life, playing music. And we would play in all different types of churches, of all different denominations. And we would just listen. We would play a little bit, and then we'd listen, we'd hear what people have to say. And I thought it was appropriate, because jazz, as an art form, is a uniquely American style of music. It is a call and response art form, especially improvised jazz, because you have to listen before you can play. And I think it's important to remember that in these politically divisive moments, because jazz itself was the combination of African American and European influences coming together in New Orleans, not to find the least common denominator, not to compromise our values and beliefs, but actually to lift all of us higher and find a higher art form. So that was me coming into this town of DC. And it was so profound for me in Milwaukee. Is anyone here from the Midwest by chance, or mostly? Okay, we got a few. Anyone from Wisconsin? Really? Where in Wisconsin? Beloit, beautiful. I'm from Brookfield. So one of the things about the greater Milwaukee area is that it is one of the most, unfortunately, ethnically, racially, and politically segregated metro areas in the country. So music for me was that vehicle to bridge those divides, to go across this one street, 124th Street, that would divide these two areas. And it occurred to me one day that everything that we're doing in my jazz ensembles is exactly what we need in our democracy today. Because the heart of our democracy is extremely weakened right now. And it was clear to me that nothing that was happening on the mainstream political stage was making an effort to bring us together in the ways that I think is truly American. And so it was in that context when a few colleagues and I came out here, we founded the Millennial Action Project. And it's based on a pretty fundamental belief that not only is finding common ground essential to the American experience, and essential to my own personal experience growing up as a person of color in a 97% Caucasian community, the most conservative community in Wisconsin, but also based on another idea, that young people are central to political transformation. And you know this. You know this with your kids, or if you're young yourself, you know this. You're not born to discriminate against people. You're not born to think the other side is evil. These are things that have become, unfortunately, symptoms of the political moment that we're living in. But the whole idea with Millennial Action Project is that young people, this new generation coming up, the millennial generation that's now old enough to start running for political office, has this unique opportunity now to reach up and make cooperation the new political paradigm of our era. And ironically, the reason we feel strongly about this is because of what we've learned throughout history. You know, a couple days ago, I was walking through a hotel, and to my great surprise, I ran into Ambassador Andrew Young. Wow. I've grown up idolizing that man. I've grown up idolizing the entire Dr. King movement. And it reminded me of the moment when I decided to found the Millennial Action Project. I was living in Foggy Bottom, and routinely I would run by the memorials. I remember standing in front of the Dr. King Memorial, and I had this realization. Each and every one of these quotes on that wall were delivered by a man who was in his 20s and 30s. He delivered I Have a Dream when he was 34. He led the Montgomery bus boycott when he was 26. And then I kept walking. And then I came to the Jefferson Memorial. And I realized Thomas Jefferson lived to be 83 years old, but he wrote the Declaration of Independence when he was 33. I looked into this more. James Madison, the great reconciler at the Constitutional Convention, he lived to be 85, but he wrote the Constitution when he was 36, first elected when he was 29. It turns out most of the founding fathers were actually under the age of 40 in 1776. Political transformation in our country comes from young leaders. And that's why when we go across the country, we tell young people who are joining our organization, this is not about being at the kids' table. This is about being the adults in the room. It's about reminding us that in this era and in our generation, we do not have to be these divisive and divided states of America. We can remind ourselves and reaffirm for our generation that we're the United States of America. Let's make that come true. Thank you. Great stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stephen. Well, I wanted to share a few themes. The original impulse that got me on the road and got this event in motion came from a book that I wrote called Sacred America, Sacred World. I try to listen to inner guidance. How is God speaking to me? What am I to do next? And I was very busy last year, and I just got the clear message. You need to get your book out next year. It had been percolating for 10 years, and I had to hustle to make that happen. I got clear it needed to come out on July 5th. And it's about where do we go next as a country? July 4th is our independence. Where do we go? How do we move into interdependence, the next operating system of our country? And so I went on tour, and I also got the sense it was very important for this to be a bridge-building book. That's why I went to the Republican National Convention. It's why I actually reached out to Rich at that point and got his critiques of the book which I integrated, and ultimately he became an endorser. And I feel that it's really important in these times when it's easy to devolve and become more blocked off from in one side or the other to reconnect with the deeper sacred principles of what we've been entrusted with. We have chosen to incarnate for a reason in this country. We are here to steward this country's growth into still another level. We have gone through very dark phases where we are so conflicted with each other to the level of the bloodbath of the Civil War, and there are many examples where things have looked very dark. And it is those times that we have to carry a brighter torch of what tomorrow can look like, because it's a remembrance. And so I want to say that all of us are here tasked with creating liberty, equality, and justice for all. We are all tasked with creating a more perfect union. And it begins with remembering a more sacred relationship with our country that's deeper than the cynicism and critiques and apathy and disgust even that people feel. We have to actually bring our love and our brightness and our wisdom into the political process, and sometimes even our vulnerability about what we care about and what brings us value and meaning. So we have to treat each other with sacred respect and honor, and we have to honor the principles that we've been built on. And I also feel it's important that we recognize, even if we identify with one side or the other, that there is a complementarity of left and right, of conservative and progressive, that are like the two wings of the American eagle that help us fly. And we can't have those wings fighting each other, because the bird doesn't fly if they're at battle with each other. And that's part of where our dysfunction is right now. So I think whatever side we are on, it's really a time of, as we've been talking about today, to really see where are my own biases. On the road, I often told the story of Sarah Palin for me. In 2008, when she first was nominated, she was just like nails on a chalkboard for me. I was like, watched the TV and I was just hating her. And I've done lots of meditation retreats and growth work, and I was, but I was really polarized against her. And so I took it on as a project. Can I find the dignity and divinity in her? Can I find something that I can warm up to? And so I read both of her books cover to cover. And it was a journey of actually beginning to see and appreciate the world through her eyes and begin to honor aspects of her that I had judged before. And I realized that I had been discriminating against her, that I had bias, that was not ultimately serving. And so at the end of that, I had a dream. Sarah shows up in the dream, and we're like old friends and old buddy, and we hug in the dream. And it was a sign, I thought, that I'd actually made a shift in my soul to no longer demonize someone just because they have a very different worldview than I do. And so I wrote an article about that called Dissolving the Palin Prejudice. And my progressive friends were frankly horrified. But I got a lot of fan mail from conservatives, who probably the first time I'd gotten conservative fan mail, and what they really said was that they'd felt unseen and judged and diminished by the way that progressives were attacking Sarah Palin. So when we go after a political leader, we have to remember that lands as a kind of insult with the people who support that leader or cherish or see them as an example that they want to follow. So we have to be very, very careful in how we move forward with our critiques. And I think it's important that we take a stand for the world we want to see, this what I call America 7.0, the shining light of a global America where there's opportunity for all that really works for all. And I go into that in a lot of detail in my book. But we also realize that everybody here also has a role to play in the creation of that. And the more that we can bridge those divides, the more we can actually find this sacred relationship where the two wings of the bird do fly, and we can actually be the eagle that is flying into a more beautiful future. So one of the great blessings, frankly, of writing this book was to have an artist of the caliber of Kristen Hoffman, who you've already heard, decide she wanted to write a song about it. So you're going to get to hear, it's probably maybe the 7th or 8th time that this has been unveiled publicly, and the song is called Sacred. And I feel so blessed that she wrote this inspired by the vision of my book.
Thank you, Stephen. Well, it was a true honor to write this song, and I was very inspired by Sacred America, Sacred World. The chorus of the song says, "Everything is sacred when there's dignity and wholeness in the life of everyone and everything." And I think this message is so important. When we go into our heart, when we look within ourselves and we find our own dignity, our own wholeness, our own love, the peace within us, and then we actively choose to see it in everyone around us and in our community and in our world, we immediately open up sacred space, immediately. And that is the beauty, it's our choice in any moment. Follow me to the bridge over our differences. You just haven't seen it yet, but it's beautiful. It's the future of our planet, and we're looking back at the moment when we chose to rise. Everything is sacred when there's dignity and wholeness in the life of everyone and everything. Can you see the sacred? 'Cause our vision is the key to a sacred America and a sacred world. We are being called by a full spectrum of love so deep it breaks the walls. With the beat of change we are opening into an upgrade of collective honoring as the visionaries rise. Everything is sacred when there's dignity and wholeness in the life of everyone and everything. Can you hear the sacred as we sing in harmony for a sacred America and a sacred world? Satyagraha, we see a sacred world. Satyagraha, we hear a sacred world. Satyagraha, we feel a sacred world. Satyagraha, we are a sacred world. And everything is sacred
when there's dignity and wholeness in the life of everyone and everything. Can you touch the sacred in you and feel the sacred in me? 'Cause we all form a sacred America and a sacred world. A sacred America and a sacred world. Yes, we all form a sacred America and a sacred world.
Isn't she incredible? Om Shanti, Salam Alaikum, Shalom, Amen. What's up? I hope you're feeling the sacredness and the intention of putting all of this together. And I think it's safe to say that this is not just a beginning, but it's definitely going to be a very important seed planted in the way that we move forward. And being reflective and checking ourselves and not just checking other people is essential. And that's where the role of reflection, meditation, prayer, silence comes in. And what I'd like to offer everyone in the room to just start as of today, what do I take away from today's sacred time together? Just where you're sitting, the person next to you, you don't have to look at them, but could you wish them well? Don't look at them, but just wish them to be benefited. And observe how your thoughts feel when you, as a citizen, a child of God, from your mind, you just wish the person next to you to be well. So let's take a moment of deep silence and turn our attention behind our eyes, the place where the soul resides, the energy, the spirit. And allow your inner being to simply make a decision to let go of your attachments. What would it feel like if I chose to not be attached to my political party, my gender, race, role, title, language? How would I feel if I transformed attachment into love? How would I think? What would be the quality of my presence? What would be the purpose of my existence? I'm non-attached, but I'm an embodiment of love. So I can be a loving Republican, a loving Democrat, a loving man, a loving woman, a loving America, a loving Jew, African, Muslim, Christian. So in this meditation, let us exchange or vote for love and leave attachment for another time. Breathe in deeply. Exhale. And keep sending your pure wishes to your neighbor from your mind. Doesn't matter what they look like or who they belong to. And now we will direct the rest of the evening to a very dear friend of many of ours here in the room, New York best-selling author Marianne Williamson, who will share with us some insights on how we can be more inclusive during this particular time. So I introduce Marianne Williamson.
Hi everybody, it's Marianne. So Donald Trump won the presidency this evening. And I want to say, first of all, to those of you who supported Donald Trump, congratulations. And to those of you who are disappointed that Donald Trump won, I understand how you feel because I feel it too. However, I think that there are some very important things for all of us to remember tonight. First of all, this is a democracy. There was an election, the campaign is over, and the people spoke tonight, and they elected Donald Trump. And that is to be respected. We are to respect the democratic process. I think that's so important right now, because a lot of what this campaign has represented, a lot of the things that have been said that have disturbed so many of us, has had to do with what seemed to us to be a disrespect for the process of democracy. So we can't answer that with our own disrespect. So I think we need to be with where we are now. First of all, we need to be with where we are now in terms of our own feelings. If you are disappointed, if you are frustrated by this, if you are even scared by this, the issue from a spiritual perspective, psychologically, is to put your fear, your feelings, your pain, your upset into a sacred container, as it were, and put all your feelings in the hands of God. If you are a Hillary supporter, or if you were very much against Trump winning the presidency, you are in a period of grief, you're in a period of mourning, and that is appropriate. So be in that without leaking the energy. And what do I mean by that? I would really advise you not to go and participate in all this really horrible stuff that's going to be on the internet. Because for one thing, those who won will be gloating, and many of those who didn't win will feel very angry about this, and there's a lot of low-level energy out there that I would advise we just sort of stay away from. Keep your energy contained. We want dignity and we want grace. And we want to keep the energy from leaking, from just spewing out in very self-indulgent ways, because we want to keep it strong, because there will be work to do. I heard Trump's speech. I thought it was a gracious speech. His grace towards Hillary Clinton was definitely at odds with what way he treated her during the campaign, but once again, he won. I do think he was sincere with his words here tonight in his speech, and I just think even to win the presidency, there is an illumined vortex there, and I think that deep in his heart, he has been touched by that somehow, and I think that for us to now focus on the things that we don't like, it's almost giving them energy. So tonight, let us place our feelings, all of our feelings in the hands of God. Let us pray for Hillary. Let us pray that she be comforted. And let us pray for Donald Trump. And let us pray that he himself, that his inner eye be opened and his inner ears be opened, and that God place his hand upon him and show him vistas of possibility and greatness. You know, make America great again, make Donald great again, make Trump great, make all of us great, so that we can move through this. I'm not naive. I was a very passionate Bernie supporter, and I saw all of this with horror. I saw the press create this, and I saw the press protect Hillary, and I saw the corporate Democrats rig that. I saw the whole thing. We all saw it. So I've been upset for a lot of months, and I certainly made my feelings clear. But the campaign is over, and we have a president-elect, and on a very deep level, it is incumbent upon all of us to, despite whatever feelings you have tonight, seek to find that place within yourself where you can wish him well.
So let's welcome back the Gonda Boys, who will be playing the song, The Time Has Come.
Such change, you might shiver in the rain. Keep your head when so many cry and dancing. Hold on tight through the night. Do your best to see the light. Even though your heart is heavy from the violence, time is coming. Change is coming. The time has come to heal the world and all the people leave us one. The time has come to sing and dance and everyone to stand as one. Now's the time to heal the wounds, to care and love for everyone. Now's the time. The time has come. There's a chance that we can take to look shadows in the face, to stand up strong for the future that decides us. In the center of our heart, a golden promise to be part of the loving, giving, sharing for each other. The change is coming. Oh, the time has come to heal the world. Oh, the people leave us one. The time has come to sing and dance, and everyone to stand as one. Now's the time to heal the wounds, to care and love for everyone. Now's the time. The time has come. Here's the chance that we can take to look all shadows in the face, to stand up strong. It won't be long. We make the world a better place. Now's the time to shed your fears and wash away the years of tears. A better earth, a clearer skies, a world where nobody denies. The time has come to make the change, to help the suffering through the pain. A helping hand across the land, establish peace we understand. The time has come to bring in love, a better world for everyone. To stand up strong, it won't be long. Heaven's grace will surely come. Here's the chance that we can take to look all shadows in the face, to stand up strong. It won't be long. We make the world a better place. Now's the time to make the fears and wash away the years of tears. A better earth, a clearer skies, a world with nobody denies. The time has come to make the change, to help the suffering through the pain. A helping hand across the land, establish peace we understand. The time has come to bring in love, a better world for everyone. To stand up strong, it won't be long. Heaven's grace will surely come.
Give it up for the Gonda Boys. I didn't actually give a formal introduction before to our saxophonist, Premick Russell Tubbs, and we are going to stay up here, Premick. Remember, we are He's an American saxophonist, songwriter, producer, and multi-instrumentalist. He's played with artists such as Sting and at venues such as Carnegie Hall. And actually, all of our musicians are going to be coming back up here for America the Beautiful. So we're going to have an all-musician rendition of America the Beautiful so we can touch into that place of the deepest relationship we have with our country.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for rainbow waves of gray, for purple mountain majesty.
Dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. Shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from the sea to shining sea.
Thank you. I would just like to thank all of the musicians. While everybody's on stage, thank you for making the soul glue of music that today, right? It's music is really soul glue. So thank you for being here with so much love and strength and passion and peace. Thank you.
I encourage you all, actually, if you could all stay for just a second. It feels important that we honor the Pledge of Allegiance that we all take regularly, and it actually unites us as a country. So we do have a flag here. So I invite you to stand, and we'll say this together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Okay. So in a traditional church service, we're now kind of moving into blessing us to get out into the world. So we got a couple of different blessings we're going to do. First, I want to share two quick clips. One, Robert Thurman offered us something. He's one of the foremost Tibetan Buddhist scholars of the United States, followed by a clip from Sikh singer Sanatam Kaur. And they're offering some wisdom, and then we'll have a few blessings to bless us out into the world.
Greetings. We have to love our enemies. Jesus said so, and Buddha said so. And to do that, of course, it takes a little bit of a method, a little bit of an effort. And we have to think of them the way a mother thinks of a lost child. After all, if they are bothering to be our enemies and being angry and so on, they are feeling frustrated and they are unhappy inside, because anyone who's angry feels unhappy inside. So we must love our enemies. So we're all people in America are one single family, and we're all like Uncle Joe and so forth. On the other hand, loving our family members doesn't mean indulging their addictions. And therefore, when Uncle Joe is out of line, we can be forceful in resisting Uncle Joe's bad behavior. And that is a loving thing to do, but we don't do it out of hate or despising Uncle Joe. We do it out of love for Uncle Joe, so it has a different quality. So love and be joyful, even when you're in the power of your enemy, but also resist any negative thing that enemy does, and find a familiar feeling with that enemy, so that your resistance has a loving and helpful and creative quality to it, not just a destructive quality. So that's how we love, but we resist. All right? So bear with it.
As a Sikh, I chant Ekonkar every morning. I recently went into these words of Ekonkar, God is one. And as I went into these words, I realized that the way to victory, the path to victory for our country is really not about getting entrenched in our views, entrenched in our sense of separation, but it's really about reaching across the lines that divide us in our opinions and our religious views and our political views, and to speak together again as Americans, as one country.
L'Shem Yuchad Kodesh Brichu Ushchinte, for the unification of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and a great unification moving forward in this country. May the future bring us love and laughter. May the future have us strive for a world of justice and peace. And may we do so with the energy and the emotion of compassion as we build a better world together here in this country and beyond. May the coming years be years of peace and plenty. Amen.
And Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall inherit the kingdom of God." You all are now commissioned as peacemakers. And may the peace that passes all understanding be with you this day and forevermore. Amen.
Om Shanti. May your every thought be filled with truth, cleanliness, purity, and courage.
Namaste and blessings. I just want to take this time to thank our host, Stephen Dinan of the Shift Network, for gathering this all together. Let's give Stephen. Thank you for this. This is wonderful.
You called me your new bestie, and that's why you called it in.
Yeah. So, and all of you, all of my colleagues, the musicians, it was just wonderful. I'm kind of emotional because that song, did that song not move you? Yes, it came from the heart and it stirred the soul. So I just want to offer the blessings for each of you. And there's a prayer of protection that we say every Sunday in every Unity Church. And is this: may the light of God surround you, the love of God enfold you, the power of God protect you, and the presence of God watch over you. For wherever you are, God is, and all is well. Let it be so. Blessings, and thank you all for coming. Let there be peace on earth. Let's stand up and sing this song.
Yes.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let there begin with me. Let this be my psalm, and now, with every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternal.